what's his ceiling? What can Harrison Bryant be in the NFL?
He can be one. I mean, I know this comparison comes up from analysts, from people who watch him, the George Kittle comparison. And saying that he can be an all-pro tight end is like, that's the most generous one out there. But I truly do believe he can be one of these high-level pass-catching tight ends who's a solid enough blocker to not, like I said, be solid, not be a liability, do well in that regard, and just be one of the guys who can catch. I mean, 60, 70 passes a year, a lot of yards, good touchdowns, red zone threat. He can be one of these guys, be one of the guys who can also move the sticks in between the 20s. Be one of those guys too that you can target early on and late too. So he can be a high-level pass-catching tight end, solid blocker, who can have a very nice and long career.
Let's start in the locker room. What type of person/competitor do you think the Cleveland Browns gained in the 4th round in Harrison Bryant?
Just a solid person. I mean, and honestly, out of all the players I've talked to since I've been here for FAU, at least, he's probably one I've talked to the most between draft and end of the season stuff and all that. He's just a really solid person, polite, not soft. I mean, his voice, he's not the loudest person. I'm sure you felt that during conference calls. Not the loudest person, but I mean, he's present. He's polite. He's just a solid person. And honestly, he's the type of person to be like, he's a good hang. That's the best way for me to describe him. He's just a good hang. In terms of locker room, every teammate I've talked with, I spoke with John Rain, was one of his teammate and a roommate, and he raved about Harrison. The only thing, I think it was him. It was him. He likes to put ketchup on steak.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And John would joke about that because John likes to cook and he likes to make steaks. And then he told me, man, the one thing I can't stand about Harrison is that he likes to put ketchup on his steaks. I can make like the best steak ever. He wants to go ruin it with ketchup.
A guy like Devin Singletary played there, scored a zillion touchdowns, and wasn't even a unanimous All-American. Harrison Bryant makes history in that way. Can you speak just a bit about the legacy he has now left behind at FAU for Browns fans who I'm assuming weren't following him when he was there doing all this?
Yeah, no, it's interesting too because I feel as if Devin Singletary, his legacy. I mean, I never covered him, but you always hear the stories. Motor this, Motor that. Like his legacy just stays here, and other guys too, not just Motor. But Harrison, I mean, maybe it's because it's a demeanor. Maybe I don't know what it is, but it was just like, and maybe it's because he rarely had. I mean, at least to me, he had probably 2 games this year that was like whoa to me. But it was just steady. And that's the way I describe him. He's just a steady guy. He's just a steady worker, a steady player, a steady contributor. And even during the times in which the start of the season when his numbers weren't exactly there, he was still there. You could still feel his presence. You could still see it because guys were doubling. Just a steady presence. And I think that's going to be part of his legacy, just the steady work, showing that you can go from a 3-star low prospect in your class, and now you can become, the best offensive player, the best player, the only drafted player from this class. Not to take anything away from anybody else, but you are the first unanimous All-American in FAU history.
Is there anything about Harrison that Browns fans may not know? I mean, we've already said it all, All-American, best tight end in college football award, where he projects, yada, yada. But just, is there a little nugget, anything that we don't know yet about Harrison that you know, or was the ketchup on the steak the one that people should take away from here?
I think that's honestly the only nugget I can provide you with right now. That was the biggest nugget to me. Once I heard that nugget myself, I was like, man, that might have actually dropped him down the draft boards more than anything else.
Right, I hear you.
I was like, man, we can't take a guy who puts ketchup on steak.
I'm still trying to figure